Hi everyone, how are we getting on?
Yeah, okay.
Nigel?
Oh, yeah, another day in paradise.
Yeah, I know. How long have we been doing this now?
No idea, but feels like ages.
My brain's turned to mush.
My voice has stopped working.
Same here. Well, not long till the summer holidays.
I'm worried they won't be any different.
I know, at this rate I reckon I'll be doing a tour of my garden for 8 weeks.
Like Captain Tom.
Yep, and probably about as fast. Oh well. Not much on the agenda today. Just a couple of reminders. Schemes of work. Joe, I think you're updating the first year one. Nigel, you're on the third year, and I'm doing second year.
Yep.
Yeah, all good. What's mine on again?
Practitioners, so Stan, Brecht, what's the point of theatre, that sort of thing.
Great. And what's going to be happening with productions next year? Do we know yet? Are they going to be allowed or?
Wait and see, I guess. We're saying we're going to be back in school, but we're not going to be allowed an audience in the theatre, so I guess we'll have to film and stream things.
Just remind me, Ben, who's doing what?
Well, I'm going to do the senior show. I think, Joe, we said you do the middle school, which means Nigel,
Yeah,
you're on the lower school.
great.
What are you thinking, Ben?
Well, I'm thinking because they've got to be in year group bubbles, I'll do things I know to be true with two different casts. What about you?
I thought I'd do Pink Mist with the fifth years.
Cool. Nigel, any thoughts on lower school?
No.
Oh well, something will turn up.
It's the last week of school, and we're picking our activities for next term. I don't know what to choose for Mondays. Friends tell me drama club's good. The thing is, drama isn't really my strong suit. I'll put it down anyways. I hope I don't regret it.
I can't decide what to do. I can do shooting with my friends or the drama production. My parents urge me to do drama. It will do you good, they say. Why do parents always think drama will do you good? My head hurts. Alright, I'll do it. I can always do shooting next term. And if it's no good, I'll get out of it.
What to do with the lower school? They're young. They are very young. Some of them are keen. Keen as mustard. They've got bags of energy. It'll be like wrestling eels. What are eels like? I've got no idea. The trouble is, nothing feels appropriate right now. It has to be something that inspires them. It has to be something that fires their imagination and mine. Maybe something with lots of magic and fantasy and... Yeah, they'll love that. It'll take their mind off all this madness. I know. I'll do Haroon and the Sea of Stories. Perfect.
There was once, in the country of Aleph Bay, a sad city, the saddest of cities, A city so ruinously sad it had forgotten its name.
In the north of the sad city stood mighty factories in which sadness was actually manufactured and sent all over the world, which never seemed to get enough of it.
Black smoke poured out of the chimneys of the sadness factories and hung over the city like bad news.
And in the depths of the city, beyond some ruined buildings that looked like broken hearts, there lived a happy young fellow by the name of Haroun, the only child of the storyteller Rashid Khalifa, whose cheerfulness was famous throughout that unhappy metropolis, and whose never-ending stream of tales had earned him not one, but 2 nicknames.
To his admirers, Rashid was an ocean of notions.
But to his jealous rivals, he was the Shah of Blah.
To his wife Soraya, Rashid was for many years as loving a husband as anyone could wish for. And during these years, Haroun grew up in a house which, instead of misery and frowns, he had his father's ready laughter and his mother's sweet voice raised in song.
But then something went wrong. Soraya stopped singing in the middle of a line as if someone had thrown a switch.
Rashid Khalifa was so busy making up stories, he didn't notice.
But then Rashid was a busy man in constant demand.
Where do all these stories come from?
It comes from the great story sea. I drink the waters and I'm full of steam.
Where do you keep all this hot water?
It comes out of an invisible tap installed by one of the water genies.
I've never seen a water genie.
You're never up in time.
But how does the invisible tap work?
Oh, that's much too complicated to explain. Now kindly desist from this ifing and butting and be happy with the stories you enjoy.
Why don't you have any more children?
We used up our full quota of child stuff for making you.
We tried. This child business is not an easy thing. Think of the poor Senguptas.
The Senguptas lived upstairs. Mr. Sengupta was a clerk at the offices of City Corporation, and he was as sticky, thin, whiny voiced and mingy as his wife Anita, who was generous and loud and wobbly fat.
They had no children at all, and as a result, Anita Sengupta paid more attention to Haroun than he really cared for.
Mr. Sengupta ignored Haroun, but he was always talking to Soraya.
That husband of yours, excuse me if I mention, he's got his head stuck in the air and his feet off the ground. What are all these stories? Life is not a storybook or a joke shop. All this fun will come to no good. What's the use of stories that aren't even true?
What's the use of stories that aren't even true?
Haroun couldn't get the terrible question out of his head.
On the day that everything went wrong, Haroun was on his way home from school when he was caught in the first downpour of the rainy season.
Miss Onita was standing on her upstairs balcony, shaking like a jelly, and if it hadn't been raining, Haroun might have noticed that she was crying.
He went inside and saw Rashid the storyteller looking as if he had stuck his face out of the window, because his eyes and cheeks were soaking wet, even though his clothes were dry.
Haroun's mother Soraya had run off with Mr. Sengupta.
At 11 a.m. precisely, she had sent Rashid into Haroun's room to search for some missing socks.
Rashid heard the front door slam, and a moment later, the sound of a car in the lane.
He returned to the living room to find his wife gone and a taxi speeding round the corner.
The clock stood at 11 o'clock exactly. Rashid picked up a hammer and smashed every clock in the house, including the one on Haroun's bedside table.
Why did he have to break my clock?
From this moment, Haroun found that he couldn't keep his mind on anything for very long.
Or, to be precise, for more than 11 minutes at a time.
Soraya had left a note.
You are only interested in pleasure, but a proper man would know that life is a serious business.
Your brain is full of make-believe, so there is no room in it for facts.
Mr. Sengupta has no imagination at all. This is okay by me.
Tell Haroon I love him, but I can't help it anymore. I have to do this now.
What to do, son? Storytelling is the only work I know.
But what's the point of it, Dad? What's the point of stories that aren't even true?
So, what do you think? Do you like it?
It's not very interesting.
How do you mean?
I don't know.
No, go on. What's not interesting about it?
Well, it's just a little bit
Silly. Childish.
Childish, your children.
Yeah, but invisible taps and water genies. Come on, we're not 5-year-olds. What's it about?
Lots of things.
Like what? Nothing even happens.
Give it a chance. It's just the first scene.
But it's not real. All this make-believe stuff, what's the point of it?
Yeah. What's the point of stories that aren't even true?
Okay, so you want something that's true, hmm? Fine, leave it with me. Off you go.
In Minneapolis tonight, tensions are high as 4 police officers have been fired after a man was pinned to the ground and died. The incident was caught on camera.
There's been a killing in America. A policeman knelt on a black man's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, killing him. His name was George Floyd. Now there's uproar. People are asking what we're doing to educate the students about racial injustice. And maybe the play is a good way to do that. The kids said that they wanted something real. Well, this is real, and it's happening right now.
How small I look. Laid out flat, my stomach touching ground, my right knee bent, and my brand new Nikes all stained. I stoop and stare at my face, my left cheek flattened on concrete. My eyes are wide open. My mouth too. I'm dead! I thought I was bigger, but I'm just a bit of nothing. I was sprinting. I'd barely turned, and pow pow. 2 bullets. Legs gave way, and I hit the snowy ground. No! Ma's running. She's wailing. My boy! A policeman holds her back. Another policeman is standing over me, murmuring. It's a kid. It's a kid. Ma's struggling. She gasps like she can't breathe. She sinks to her knees. No. I can't bear the sound. Sirens are wailing. More cops are coming. Is anybody called an ambulance? The policeman closest to me is rubbing his head. In his hand, his gun dangles. People are edging closer, snapping pictures, taking video with their phones. Stay back! The policeman shouts. His hand covers his holster. More people come. Some shout. I hear my name. Jerome. It's Jerome. Some curse. Some cry. Doesn't seem fair. Nobody ever paid me any attention. I kept my head low. I skated by. And now I'm famous.
Read all about it. Read all about it. Jerome Rogers, 12. Shot at Green Street parking lot.
Officer says.
I had no choice. He had a gun.
And it's from a book called The Ghost Boys?
Yes, based on a true story. Then pass it around, thank you.
A boy called Tamir Rice was playing with a Phillips gun in the park.
Someone called 911 said it was probably a juvenile. The gun's probably fake.
But that information never reached the police. Before the police car stopped, Officer Timothy Lohman pulled out his gun and fired 2 shots at Rice.
He claimed he shouted a warning, but the whole thing lasted less than 2 seconds, so...
Yes.
What about the other ghost boys in this story?
What about them?
There are so many of them,
I know.
all killed in racist attacks. How will we do them?
We've got lots of people, so.
Yes, but not the right kind of people.
Oh, you mean that our cast isn't diverse enough? Yes. Right, so I've thought about this. All of the Ghost Boys, they come on at the end, sort of like a big chorus. So I was thinking maybe we could do something a bit experimental. You could all come on bringing puppets.
Puppets? No!
What's wrong with puppets?
Sir, look, that's not what I mean.
What do you mean?
Sir?
Have you ever heard of Othello?
I'm a drama teacher.
Then you'll know that for ages that Othello was only ever played by white guys who'd put boot polish on their faces.
Right.
Sir? Do you think a white guy should play Othello?
No, that's not what no, definitely not.
This is all sounding a bit racist, sir. Yeah. Yeah, a little bit racist, sir. Sir? Are you okay,
All right. So, what do you think? Only a disabled person can play Richard III?
Obviously.
Yes.
Sir?
Right, and only a gay man can play Harvey Milk?
Sir, we're a group of people at the top of a power structure, trying to tell the stories of people who have been marginalised. This has been happening for centuries. We can't tell the stories of the oppressed. They must be given the freedom to tell their own stories. We are only truly fluent in the stories that we own. What we really need to do is to look at our darkest parts of our own stories. We need to be honest. We need to uncover our roles in this oppressive power structure. Then we can create plays that truly reflect the world we experience. Maybe what everyone's trying to say is, we can't do the Ghost Boys because it's not our story.
Possibly, I don't know.
Good point, well made. All right then, what should we do?
Spider-Man.
Something funny.
Robin Hood.
Something with funny voices.
Can I do my impressions? Mamma mia.
Murder mystery.
Something dramatic.
Something exciting.
Johnny English. Something with good characters.
Funny voices.
Murder mystery.
I can do impressions.
Born to Run by Michael Morpurgo.
I'm really good at impressions.
Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night Time.
Dear Evan Hansen. Has anybody heard my impression of Korg?
Priscilla. Queen of Deserts.
The unbearable lightness of being.
King Lear.
Funny voices.
Murder mystery.
Godzilla, the movie.
Dressing Up. The Incredibles. Murder mystery.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Lord of the Rings.
Funny voices.
Murder mystery.
Murder mystery.
Murder mystery.
Right, all right, enough. Hands up, all in favour of murder mystery.
Sir,
Yes.
my impressions. May I?
Not now, Ashwin. Maybe some other time. Okay, look. The problem with murder mysteries is they're about adults, and usually old ones. Most of them are about people in their 50s with names like Professor Plum and Colonel Mustard.
You don't mind? Sounds fun.
I can wear a moustache and sideburns.
Look, you said you wanted something real, you said you wanted something true, remember? Not even Ashwin's going to convince anyone that he's Miles O'Neill, 3rd Earl of Welcher. Look, you said you wanted something real, you've rejected all of my ideas, we're virtually at the end of term, and we've got to start rehearsals in January.
Sir, do you know the Deep Dean Mystery?
No, I don't. What are they?
Well, they're books set in a boarding school. Maybe we could do one of those? All the characters in the book are children, except from the teachers. But surely you could play those.
It's not a bad idea. How many books are there?
Lots, I think.
Any to recommend?
Well, there's First Class Murder, and then there's Jolly Foul Play. Both of those are good.
All right, I'll look into it. I'll have to adapt them, of course, but that's what Christmas holidays are for. Right, well done, Drew, thanks.
It's the end of term. I'm on the bus. My bag is filled to the brims with all of my books and belongings. They would all usually be in my locker at school, but they say that we might be going into lockdown after Christmas. I look out the window to see if we're anywhere near Goring. We're not even out of Abingdon.
I've just finished a hardcore gaming session. Then my parents shout, "Home learning after the holidays. Schools are shut." I'm hyped. More Minecraft for me. But then they shout, "There'll have to be restrictions." I have to sit through a massive, and I mean massive, like bigger than a blue whale, speech on how too much screen time is bad for you, from people who spend their whole day just staring at screens. I think I'm about to throw up.
I'm eating pizza, my favourite. Mum says, "Who's not going back to school?" "Are you okay?" I ask. She says she's fine. You do realise that means I'll be at home the whole time. She freezes, then starts sobbing. Later, she tells me to go and meet friends, because I haven't left the house all day. I say I can't. She says, "You can." I'm like, "Mum, I can't." Again, she stands there frozen, then sobs. I think she wants me out of the house.
December 25th. I'm lying in bed listening to my siblings march downstairs like an army of angry Russians. I get up in time to see them sitting in an ocean of wrapping paper, their faces beaming at the sight of presents. 5 minutes, and Christmas is basically over. Next, it's the annual trip to church. Because of COVID, Dad's had to book us in, and he's got one pew for 9 people. The baby's crying, the toddler's crying, the slightly older than that toddler's crying, which in turn brings the 6 and 8-year-olds to tears too. The service starts, no singing of course, and the vicar's in the middle of his prayer stuff when the slightly older than that toddler makes a dash for the communion line, so I bring him down with a rugby tackle. More tears. Marvellous.
January. Suddenly there's a tapping on my door. "James, up! Zoom in half an hour." Brilliant. So I had one more day before my sentence to death by Zoom. But no, I have to suffer. Now I can be sneaky. If I time it right, sneak my phone into my room, onto my desk, under my books. Then, "James, phone outside your room, now!" That was my last chance of surfacing the ocean of death, pain, and despair. Homework hasn't even come up yet.
I'm going ballistic. I've been staring at this Chromebook all day. And now, at 4:05 in the afternoon, it's lower school drama. On Zoom! That is not what I signed up for. I mean, it's actually dark outside. It feels like the middle of the night. I signed up for some good quality drama, not some prancing around on a silly screen.
Go on, put them on.
No!
You have to, James.
No!
Mrs. Fever's gone to all the trouble of making them.
We're not doing it.
Look,
All of you, just man up and put them on.
Hardly the words to use in these circumstances.
Come on! I need to see what they look like. It's not my fault that the Deep Dean Mysteries are set in an all-girls school. Please. Right, that's it. If you're not putting them on, I am cancelling the show. Thank you. Thank you. Right. Now let's read the first scene.
We were all looking up through Mr. Murder.
Louder.
We were all looking up through Mr. Murder.
Thank you.
I had never seen Daisy.
Right, keep going.
So furious.
Hell's teeth. How could we not notice it? We were on the spot.
You see, Daisy
Get on with it.
needs to know things and see everything and get in everywhere.
She finds it hard to accept there are things going on at Deep Dean she does not understand. It puts her in a foul mood.
And to be fair, I do feel ashamed. The Detective Society has already solved 3 real murder mysteries. Yet we missed a murder happening right under our noses.
In our very own Deep Dean school for girls.
But for the 5th of November, I had not been enjoying Deep Dean much this term. The school felt different from last year, and not in a good way. It felt as though something awful were rushing towards us.
Yes, it's called our opening night, so please can you pick up the pace?
Last night was dreadful, but now it's happened I feel almost relieved.
And now there is another murder to solve. Daisy and the rest of us can be the Detective Society again.
Mind you, this case won't be an easy one. Not at all. You see, the person who has died,
who we think has been murdered,
is none other than our new head girl.
But sir, there's still 10 minutes left.
I don't care. I've had enough. Go on, get out. Get out! Leave me alone!
Where is he? Where's he gone?
Yeah, he walked out early.
Why?
He flipped.
Lost it. Went through the alley.
Cool. Why?
I think the place is getting to him.
Oh, I see. Yeah, last time he was a bit shouty with us too. I hate it when teachers are like that. He is really going mental, isn't he? Strict! Our teacher was so strict, you weren't allowed to breathe in his lessons. He'd stand out the front going,
No breathing.
and you had the whole morning to get through.
The weak ones used to just keel over and die. You'd hear them going down behind you.
And there was always this whiny kid going,
Sir, can I get a decent breathing?
and he would say,
No, you got all playtime to do it.
Did you know, at the beginning of the week, there were 48 kids in my class, and at the end of the week, there were only 5 of them left.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you'd be stepping over kids just to get out of the room.
Oh no. Where's Melanie? That's a shame. She was really nice.
There's Dave. Odd luck, Dave. Always knew you were a bit weak.
You know, people say to me, if that's true, how come you're here to tell the tale? Fair enough, and I'll tell you.
No breathing.
It's because we were sitting at desks. Not sitting around tables like most kids do now, but sitting at desks with lids.
So, some of us figured out that what you had to do was take a quick breath under the desk lid when he wasn't looking. So, once more from the beginning.
No breathing.
The weak ones.
Kaboom! Kaboom!
Kaboom!
the whiny ones.
Sir, can I get a decent breathing?
No, you got all playtime to do it.
Oh, God, sir! Us lot.
Ah, that was the mistake. Slamming the desk lid.
If you made a noise with the desk lid, it was
out! School prison.
There was a school prison underneath the school hall where they used to string you up from the wall bars.
What? Sir, I've been up here for 3 weeks.
And there's rats, and they're nibbling my toenails.
So I figured it out. What you had to do was put your thumb round the edge of the desk lid, so when it went down, it made no noise at all.
And once more, from the beginning.
No breathing. The weak ones.
Kaboom!
The whiny ones.
Sir, we got to do some breathing.
No, you got all playtime to do it.
Oh, God, sir.
These other kids. Out! School prison.
What?
Sir, I've been up here for 3 weeks.
And there's rats, and they're nibbling my toenails.
Me, thumb round edge of the desk. No breathing. No noise at all. Survival.
Still no sign?
Nothing. No one's seen him for days.
What's happened to him?
Maybe he's been murdered by the second years.
That's not funny.
Actually, it is. At least I won't have to play the dead body anymore.
But you were so good. Really stiff.
Ha ha.
Look, this isn't getting us anywhere. What do we do now?
I have no idea.
My parents keep asking me about the show. I can't even tell them what it is. We don't know what we're doing.
It's a disaster.
I should have done shooting.
Hey, maybe you killed him.
Wait, how long to the show?
About 5 weeks.
Okay, we need to get organised. Take back control.
Of what? We haven't got a play. We need a story.
Don't worry, I found something. I think it might work.
What's it about?
Oh, not this again.
Wait and see.
I'm not wearing another wig.
I am not wearing another dress.
And I am not playing another dead body.
Don't worry, there won't be any of that. Trust me.
He joined at the start of the summer holidays.
He'd been there before, of course.
Hanging around for days.
Saying nothing, watching from the sidelines.
Then one day, towards tea time, he finally spoke.
He says he wants to join.
Who?
The new kid.
What's his name?
He won't say.
What's your name?
You can't be in the gang unless you say your name. That's the rules. What's yours?
Blackie, I'm the leader. Who are you?
Trevor.
Shut your mouth, Michael. I'll give you my fist. Where you live?
North End Road.
All right, you're in. We meet every morning in the car park.
Which one?
Northwood Terrace, by the bombed houses. Oh, and by the way, we'll call you T.
And with that, he was in.
The Wormsley Common Gang's newest recruit.
He didn't say much.
Not surprising with a name like Trevor.
But there were possibilities about his silence that everyone recognised.
And he had plenty of reasons for keeping quiet.
Like his name, Trevor.
Like his father, who had been an architect and was now a present clerk.
Which meant his father had come down in the world.
His mother thought she was better than her neighbours.
Which is why, perhaps, her son,
or T, as they called him,
had developed an air of danger, unpredictability that established him in the group with no initiation ceremony.
The car park where they met was a messy affair on the site of the last bomb of the Blitz.
Blackie, the leader, said he'd heard the bomb fall. But if he'd done the maths, you know, he was only a year old and fast asleep on the platform of Wormsley Common Underground Station when the bomb hit the ground.
On one side of the car park leaned the first occupied house of the shattered Northwood Terrace.
Number 3.
and it literally leaned, for the blast of the bomb had shaken it so that its side walls were now supported on wooden struts.
A smaller bomb had fallen beyond, making it stand out like a jagged tooth that carried on its far wall the relics of its neighbour.
Some old wallpaper, a dado rail, the remains of a fireplace.
The next time the gang met, T startled the others by saying,
My dad says Wren built that house.
Who's Wren?
The man who built St. Paul's.
Who cares? It's only old Misery's.
Old Misery
His real name was Thomas.
had once been a builder and decorator.
he lived alone in the crippled house, looking after himself.
Once a week, the boys would see him coming back across the common with his shopping.
A few days ago, as the boys were playing in the car park, he put his head over the smashed wall of his garden and looked at them.
Been to the loo?
We know you've got a crapper in that shed down the garden. Poo, stinky poo.
We can smell it from here.
Away with you!
It was true. He did have a loo at the end of the garden.
Since the bombs fell, something had gone wrong with the pipes in his house, and Old Misery
He knew how to decorate, but had never learned plumbing.
was too mean to spend money on fixing it.
The next time the gang met Mr. Thomas, he surprised them.
Hey, you.
Yeah,
You belong to that lot that plays in the car park.
suppose I do.
I got some chocolates. Here you are. Don't like them myself. Probably not enough to go around. There never is.
And he handed over 3 packets of Smarties.
Not that the gang were grateful.
Bet someone dropped them and he picked them up. He probably pitched them. And now he's in a fun. It's a ride.
He wants to stop bouncing balls on his walls.
We'll show him we don't take any bribes.
And they spent the rest of the day bouncing balls against his wall.
A game that, in truth, they were already too old to enjoy.
The next day, T astonished them all.
He was late to the meeting, and the voting for that day's activity had taken place without him.
Right, so that's settled. We'll go in pairs, take buses at random, see how many free rides we can bag.
They were drawing lots for their companions when tea arrived.
Where you been? You can't vote now, you know the rules. From there. Where? Old Misery's. Old Misery's? Did you break in? No, I know the doorbell. What did you say? I said I wanted to see his house. What did he say? Showed it to me. Did you pinch it? No.
What did you do it for?
It's a beautiful house.
A beautiful house.
Yeah. It's got a staircase 200 years old with a corkscrew. Nothing holds it up.
Does it float?
It's to do with opposite forces, Old Misery says.
What else?
It's got panelling.
Like in the blue ball?
200 years old.
I bet Old Misery's 200 years old.
What did you do it for? If you'd broken
This
in.
was better. I found out things.
What things?
Old Misery is going away tomorrow and the rest of the bank holiday weekend.
You mean we could break in?
And pinch things?
Okay, nobody's going to pinch anything. Breaking in's good enough. We don't want to go to court.
I don't want to pinch anything. I've got a better idea.
What?
Pull it down. Destroy it.
What about the police?
They never know. We do it from the inside. I found a way in. We'd be like worms in an apple. When we come out, there'd be nothing there. No staircase, no panels, nothing but the walls. And then we make them fall down.
How?
Somehow.
We'd go to Jug.
Who's to prove? And anyway, we wouldn't have pinched anything. There won't be anything to pinch after we've finished.
I've never heard of going to prison for breaking things.
There wouldn't be enough time. I've seen housebreakers at work.
There are 12 of us. We'd organise.
None of us know how.
I know. Have you got a better plan?
I thought we were pinching free rides today.
Free rides? You can stand down, Blackie, if you'd rather.
The gang's got to vote.
Put it up then.
It is proposed that tomorrow on Monday we destroy Old Misery's house.
Hear, hear.
Who's in favour?
It's carried.
How do we start?
He'll tell you.
And that was the end of Blackie's leadership.
He went to the far side of the car park and kicked a stone.
He thought of going home and never coming back.
Letting the gang learn for themselves the hollowness of T's leadership.
But instead, he took a flying kick at Old Morris, one of the only vehicles left there, apart from a few lorries parked up for the bank holiday.
But suppose what T proposed was possible.
Nothing like it had ever been done before.
The fame of the Wormsley Common Gang would surely spread across London.
There would be headlines in all the papers.
Even the grown-ups who ran the betting at the all-in wrestling would marvel at how Old Misery's house had been destroyed by a gang of kids.
And so, driven purely by the lure of fame for the gang, Blackie came back and stood next to Tees in the shadow of Old Misery's wall.
Mike, bring some big nails, the biggest you can find, and a hammer. Anyone else who can get hold of them, bring a hammer and a screwdriver. We'll need plenty of them. Chisels too. We can't have too many chisels. Can anyone bring a saw?
No, I can.
Not a child saw, a real one.
I can get one.
Right, bring it. We need a hacksaw too.
What's a hacksaw?
You get them in Woolworths.
I knew this would end in a whip
I
rout.
don't want your money. I'll get it on myself, but I can't afford a sledgehammer.
They're working on number 15. You know where they put their stuff for the bank holiday?
And that's all. Be here at 9 sharp.
T, I've got to go to church.
Come over the back one and whistle. We'll let you in.
On Sunday morning, all were punctual, except Blackie. Even Mike, who, in a stroke of luck, was told to go to church on his own because his parents were unwell.
Blackie first had trouble smuggling out the saw and then finding the sledgehammer at the back of number 15. But he made it in the end and approached the house from the lane at the back of the house to avoid the risk of coinciding with the policeman's beat, which went along the main road.
There was no sign of anyone anywhere. The slough stood like a tomb in a neglected graveyard. The curtains were drawn, the house slept. As he lumbered nearer with the saw and the sledgehammer, he thought nobody had turned up. Perhaps they'd all woken wiser and decided against it.
But when he came close to the back door, you could hear a confusion of sound, like a hive and swarm.
A banging, creaking, clickety-clack, followed by a sudden crack.
Wow. So it's true.
At once, he's struck by an air of organisation, very different from the happy-go-lucky ways under his own leadership.
For a while, he wanders up and down stairs looking for T. No one talks to him. There's a sense of great urgency, and already you can see the plan.
The interior of the house is being carefully demolished without touching the outer walls.
Summers is ripping out skirting boards in the dining room with hammer and chisel. He's already smashed the panels of the door.
In the same room, Joe was heaving up the parquet box, exposing the softwood floorboards over the cellar.
Coils of wire burst from the damaged skirting as Mike sits happily on the floor, clipping wires.
On the curved stairs, two of the gang are working hard on the banisters with a child saw. When they see the full-size one Blackie carries, they signal for it without a word.
Blackie finds T at last, in the bathroom, the least cared-for room in the house, listening to the sounds coming up from below.
You've done it. You've really done it. What's going to happen?
We've only just begun. You stay here and break up the bath. Don't worry about the pipes. They come later.
I've done the wires, T.
Good. You've just got to go around the rest of the house now. The kitchen's in the basement. Smash all the china and the bottles you can lay hold of. Don't turn on the taps. We don't want a flood. Yet. Tear up any papers you find. Smash all the ornaments. Better take a carving knife with you from the kitchen. The bedroom's opposite here. Tear the pillows and tear the sheets. That should do for the moment. Blackie, when you've finished in here, break up the plaster in the passage with your sledgehammer.
What are you going to do?
I'm looking for something special.
It's nearly lunchtime before Blackie finishes his work and goes in search of T. Chaos has advanced. The kitchen is a shambles of broken glass and china.
The dining room is stripped of tiles, the skirting is up, the door is off its hinges, and the destroyers have moved up a floor.
Streaks of light pierce the closed shutters, where they work with the seriousness of craters. After all, destruction is a form of creation. A kind of imagination has seen this house, as it has now become.
Sorry, T. I've got to go home for dinner.
Who else?
We bought sandwiches.
They squat in the ruins of the room and swap unwanted sandwiches.
Half an hour later, they are at work again. By the time Mike returns, they are on the top floor.
And by 6, the superficial damage has been completed.
All doors are off.
All skirtings raised.
All furniture pillaged and ripped and smashed.
Now no one can sleep in this house unless on a bed of broken plaster.
T gives his orders.
Everyone here at 8 o'clock. You leave one at a time over the garden wall, through the car park.
And soon, just T and Blackie remain.
You find nothing special?
Come over here and look. Old Misery's savings. Mike ripped them out of the mattress, but he missed them.
What are you going to do with them? Share them, right?
We're not thieves. No one's going to steal anything from this house. I kept these for you and me. A celebration. Here, help me count them.
2, 3, 4. Never seen so much money. 30.
40. 70. We'll burn them, one by one.
And taking it in turns, they hold a note above their heads and light the top corner, so the flame burns slowly towards their fingers. The grey ash floats above them and falls on their head like old age.
I'd like to see old Misery's face when we're done.
You really hate him, don't you?
Of course I don't hate him. There'd be no fun if I hated him. All this hate and love, it's soft, it's hooey. There's only things, Blackie. Come on. I'll race you home.
Next morning, the serious destruction starts.
2 are missing, the brothers Mike and Phil, whose parents have gone to Southend despite a rumble of thunder that sounds like the first guns of the Blitz.
We've got to hurry.
Haven't we done enough? I've been given money for the slot machines. It's like work.
We've hardly started. There's all the floors left and the stairs. You haven't taken out a single window. You voted like the rest. We're going to destroy this house. There mustn't be anything left when we finish.
They begin again from the first floor, pillars up floorboards next to the outer walls to leave the joists exposed.
They then saw through the joists and retreat to the hall as what's left of the floor sinks.
By the time they tackle the second floor, they've learned by practice they collapse more easily.
By evening, a strange exhilaration grips them as they look down the great hollow of the house.
Oh!
What about the windows? How will we knock that out?
Never mind. Turn on the taps.
Soon, the water overtakes them on the stairs and falls through the floorless rooms.
Something's wrong. Mike's back.
Old Misery, he's coming.
But why? He told me. It isn't fair.
He was down at Southend and he was on the train coming back. So it was too cold and wet. My, you've had a storm here. Is the roof leaking?
How long will he be?
5 minutes. I gave Marla a slip and ran.
We better clear. We've done enough anyway.
No, we haven't. Anyone could do this. We've got to finish. Don't move. Let me think.
There's no time.
There's got to be a way. We can't get this far.
We've done a lot.
No, we haven't. Someone watch the front.
We can't do any more.
He may come in the back.
Well, watch the back too. Just give me a minute and I'll fix it. I swear. Please.
Please. We're long home, Trevor.
Please.
I'll watch the front, T. Someone's coming, T. It's not him. What's your plan?
Mike, go to the loo and hide behind it. When you hear me whistle, count to 10 and start shouting.
Shout what?
Help! Stuff like that.
He's coming, T.
Quick, Mike, the loo. Blackie, all of you, stay here till I yell.
Where are you going?
Don't worry, I'll sort this.
Old Misery limps off the cotton. He pauses at the pavement edge to scrape the mud off his shoes, for he doesn't want to soil his house, which stands jagged and dark between the bomb sites, saved so narrowly, he believes, from destruction.
Somewhere, somebody whistles. Old Misery looks round. He doesn't trust whistles. A child is shouting.
Mr. Thomas, Mr. Thomas!
What is it?
I'm really sorry, Mr. Thomas. One of us got taken short, and we thought you wouldn't mind, and now he's stuck.
What do you mean, boy?
He's stuck in your loo.
What's he doing there? He'd no business.
But he was urgent, Mr. Thomas.
Haven't I seen you before?
You showed me your house.
Yes, I did. That doesn't give you the right to...
Do hurry, Mr. Thomas. He'll suffocate.
Nonsense. He can't suffocate. Wait till I put my bag in.
I'll carry your bag.
Oh, no, you won't. I carry my own bag.
This way, Mr. Thomas.
You can't get in the garden that way. You've got to go through the house.
But you can get in the garden this way, Mr. Thomas. We often do.
You often do? When? What right?
Look, here. The wall's low.
I'm not climbing walls into my own garden.
This is how you do it, Mr. Thomas. Look, 1 foot here and over.
Give me back my bag. I'll call the police.
Help! Help! Your bag's all right, Mr. Thomas. Look, 1 foot there. Perfect. Now, up and over. Come on. And here's your bag.
I'll have that wall built up. I'm not having you boys coming over and using my loo. It's not hygienic.
Help! Help!
I'm coming.
Do get him out, Mr. Thomas.
He won't come to any harm in my loo. What's the matter in there?
Perhaps he's fainted.
Not in my loo. Here, you, come out.
And he gives a great jerk at the door and falls back when it opens without resistance.
A hand supports and then pushes him hard.
His head hits the far wall of the loo, his bag hits his feet, and he sits down heavily.
A hand whips the key from the lock and slams the door shut.
Let me out! Let me out!
Don't worry, Mr. Thomas. We won't hurt you. Not if you stay quiet.
The old man sits and ponders. He remembers there's only that lorry in the car park. The driver won't be back for it before morning.
No one can hear him from the road in front, and the lane at the back is seldom used.
And if he does call help, who in a lonely bank holiday will have the courage to investigate?
After a while, it seems to him there are some faint sounds in the silence, coming from the direction of his house. He stands and peers through the ventilation hole.
Between the cracks in one of the shutters, he sees a light. Not the light of a lamp, but the flickering light a candle might give.
He thinks he hears the sound of hammering and scraping and chipping.
He thinks of burglars. Perhaps they employed the boy as a scout.
But why would burglars be doing secret carpentry, he thought. He tries an experimental yell.
Hey!
But no one answers. Not even the boys hear him.
Inside the house, Mike has gone home, but the rest have stayed.
The question of leadership no longer concerns the gang. They work with nails, chisels, screwdrivers, anything that's sharp, worrying at the mortar between the damp course and the bricks.
There remains the most dangerous task of all, out in the open at the edge of the bomb site.
While Summers watches for passers-by, Mrs. Thomas hears the sound of a saw. It no longer comes from the house, which reassures him a little bit. Perhaps the other noises had no significance.
Mr. Thomas!
Let me out!
Here's a blanket. There's nothing personal. We want you to be comfortable tonight.
Tonight?
Catch! Penny buns. We've buttered them, and sausage rolls. We don't want you to starve, Mr. Thomas.
Look, a joke's a joke, boy. Let me out and I won't say a thing. I got rheumatics. I got to sleep comfortable.
You wouldn't be comfortable. Not in your house, you wouldn't. Not now.
What do you mean, boy? What do you mean?
But the footsteps recede, leaving only the silence of the night.
No soaring now, only a far-off hoot of an owl on its muffled flight through the soundless world.
At 7 the next morning, the driver comes to fetch his lorry.
He climbs into the seat and tries to start the engine.
He is vaguely aware of a voice shouting.
Hey!
But it doesn't concern him.
At last, the engine responds, and he backs the lorry until it touches the great wooden shore that supports Mr. Thomas's house.
The lorry now moves forward, but is momentarily checked, as though something is pulling it from behind.
Then there is a sound of a long, rumbling crash.
The driver is astonished to see bricks bouncing ahead of him, and some hitting the roof of his cab.
He puts on the brakes. He climbs out of the cab.
The whole landscape has suddenly altered.
There is no house beside the car park, only a hill of rubble.
He goes round to the back of the lorry and examines it for damage.
He finds a rope tied there, still twisted at the other end, round the part of a wooden strut.
Again, he becomes aware of somebody shouting.
Hey! It comes from the wooden hut that is the nearest thing to a house in that desolation of broken brick.
The driver climbs the smashed wall and unlocks the door.
Mr. Thomas comes out of the loo.
Where's my house?
Search me.
Says the driver. His eye lights on the remains of a bath and what had once been a dresser.
How dare you! It was my house! My house!
I'm sorry.
He says, making heroic efforts.
But then he remembers the sudden check to his lorry,
The crash of bricks falling.
and he convulses again.
One moment, the house had stood there with such dignity between the bomb sites.
Like a man in a top hat.
And then, bang, crash, there wasn't anything left.
Not a thing.
I'm sorry. I can't help it. But you've got to admit, it's funny.
And that's it.
It's good.
I think it works. Bit bleak, isn't it? I think it's funny. Funny? It's depressing.
Yeah, nasty.
It's better than anything Mr. Nixon came up with. Hey, what happened to him? Maybe he was murdered. Or maybe he just died of boredom listening to you. Who knows?
Who cares?
But seriously, how would we end it?
What?
The play. How do you mean? You can't just end it like that. The old man's house is just totally destroyed. Why not? Seems like a perfectly natural ending to me. What kind of message is that for the audience? Does anyone care about the message? My parents won't care. As long as they can be good for me, they'll be happy.
My parents will be happy if I get to the end of the play without being a dead body.
But what good does a story like that do? Audiences want something uplifting. Something that'll make them feel happy as they drive home. They won't be driving home, they'll already be at home, watching on their laptops.
God, that's depressing.
Exactly! That's why we need to lift their spirits. Lighten the mood. What do you suggest? Maybe something that ties up loose ends. Gives a sense of completion. Such as? I don't know, maybe go back to something earlier in the story. Something left unresolved. Like what? Well...
Hello everyone, sorry for the delay.
Stop! We thought you were dead.
That's a bit of an overreaction. There's nothing to joke about either.
We're not joking, sir. We thought you'd been murdered.
What gave you that idea?
You just disappeared.
We haven't seen you for weeks. Plus, you were angry. We thought you might have met with some mischief.
My, what fertile imaginations you have. Has no one told you?
Tell us what?
Well, it's about the test and trace results. Someone in my second year class tested positive, so I've been isolating for 2 weeks.
Sir, it's very nice to see you, and I'm really glad you're not dead. But what do we do about the play?
Yes, my parents keep asking me what we're doing, and I don't know what to say.
Well, someone was supposed to tell you about that too.
Tell us what?
I'm afraid it's been cancelled.
Ah.
Yeah, I know, I'm sorry to disappoint you. I realise how keen you are. It's just... I hope we'd be able to make something else work, but audiences aren't allowed in the theatre. All the tech crew are on furlough, so there's no one around to film it. We all have to be 2 metres apart and wear masks indoors, and it's just, we can't do a show under those circumstances, so... Look, on top of that, we've also run out of time.
I knew I should have done shooting. Well, that's a big letdown, sir. Very disappointing. We expected more from you, sir. We really did.
Yes, well, as I said, I'm very sorry, but putting on a play is hard, and putting on a play in a pandemic, well, that's a whole other thing entirely. So, I wish there was something else that I could suggest, but there isn't, unless any of you have ideas.
Well, sir, there's always my impressions.
So, last agenda item is finalising the wording for the new department brochure.
Right, what have we got so far?
But as that piece I did for the Abingdon News, I thought we could just use some of that.
Remind me?
The drama department is all about passion and its teachers are exceptional.
Sweet.
Then maybe something about the benefits of drama, develops the inner life of the individual, fires the imagination, builds confidence, teamwork, life skills, etc. Blah, blah, blah.
Yep, great.
Then I thought maybe we could end with outside the classroom, taking part in a drama production is always an unforgettable experience for staff as well as pupils, that kind of thing.
Super.
Cool. Nigel, anything to add?
No, sums it up perfectly.
I'm Cork, I'm made of rocks, but don't they dare intimidate you? Unless you're a pair of scissors. There was a rock, paper, scissors joke there for you.